Hey everybody, welcome back to the Creepy Cascadia podcast. As always, I'm Sammy, and I am joined here by my sexy, smart co-host Adam.
Hey babe, how you doing today?
You stole my line.
Ha ha! Gotcha.
Got you good, fucker. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you're pretty smart and sexy. Think you said it was a special day of the year or something, right?
Yeah, so I bought myself a every day's a holiday calendar, for like my work, because I like to have like 12 calendars in my vicinity while I'm working.
12 calendars?
No, I have like three.
Okay.
I have a desk one, like a one a day one.
Yeah.
That's ghost stories and like things like that.
Yeah.
And then, speaking of that, I have a joke for you.
Didn't we give each other one
That's
a day?
what you got me, was the one a day. The ghost one that I showed you on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's my one a day? Is the cat one out there? Is that supposed to be my one a day?
No.
There's a cat one sitting out there for 2023.
There is. What did I get you for your one a day?
I think you got me the cat one.
No, your mom got us the cat one. Your mom sent us the cat one.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't get you one this year. I got you your pocket calendar.
Yeah.
And a big calendar.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't get you a
Well, your big calendar wasn't that big of a calendar. It's the little Grogu. It's like it's like half the size of like the Marvel calendar from the previous year.
Yeah, that's the same size as the one I have.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I didn't get you a one a day this year. I don't know. Maybe it's lost on your desk with everything else.
I don't think it's that.
But I have a joke for you.
Okay. Knock knock.
That's what kind of horse does a ghost ride?
What kind of horse does a ghost ride? A white one?
A nightmare.
A nightmare. Okay.
There was a joke today on my one a day calendar, and that was it.
Okay.
Well, it was one of the days because I worked from home a couple days last week, but
it's funny that I mentioned that because that's when you say nightmare as a horse, it brings back one of the magic cards. Had the first set I ever played, nightmare was like one of the big rares you could have.
Oh.
Because it got bigger for how many black lands you had.
Okay.
So it cost like 5 to play, and it was like 5/5 flying, I think. But the artwork's like a black horse with like flames for like the mane, the tail. I want to say there's flames around the hoofs.
It was like what's his face? The old hot man.
The old hot man?
In Ghost Rider.
Johnny Blaze?
No. The guy in the graveyard. God, what's his name? Aisha would know. It's her and I, like, old man crush.
It's Henry Fonda.
No, that's not who it is. It's
does Henry Fonda play... Henry Fonda plays the devil in the Ghost Rider movie.
Yeah. I'm talking about the...
You're talking about a mustache guy from A Star Is Born. Gravelly.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting his name right now, too.
God, I can't believe I'm blanking on it, because he's a...
Yeah.
He's aged like a fine wine.
Yeah.
But anyways.
TJ.
No.
KG. You got a computer, why don't you just Google it? It's Donald E.J. Sprocket.
What the fuck?
It's Elliot.
Tom Elliott?
Tom Elliott?
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. There you go.
Is it Sam Elliott? Yeah, Sam Elliott. Okay.
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott.
Okay.
His horse he rode a horse, because when he was the Ghost Rider, he had a horse.
Yes.
So it probably had flame and mane.
Yeah.
All that for fucking that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All the Sam Elliott fans out there are just like, Sam fucking Elliott.
I
know. It's Sam Elliott. Just say Sam Elliott. Like, you know.
You know what's so funny? Like, I listen to podcasts all day while I'm at work, right? There are times when there's just a word or something that escapes people on these podcasts, and they're like, the people listening are probably just like, what the fuck?
Just spit it out already.
God damn it, Sam Elliott. Yeah.
Why didn't they cut this shit and just go to them being right?
Well, today's Monday, the day after Spring Ahead. What?
Last night was the Oscars.
Oh yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis. She won Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah.
Our original, the OG Final Girl.
Yep.
Yep.
We haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once or Everywhere Everything All at Once.
Yeah.
I forget what is first and which one is second.
I don't know either.
But I mean, they practically swept.
Yep.
Brendan Fraser.
I saw something where he explained how to pronounce his last
name. Oh, dude, I always thought it was Brendan Fraser because it's like,
he
even
said
though
it's
I know there's not an I in there, it's just.
He said it's a common mispronunciation, just like Neve and Nev Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nev Campbell and Neve. Somebody said Neve Campbell and she corrected him. And we were like, oh, it's like Neve from Catfish.
Yeah.
You know, that's how they pronounce it, but yeah.
That was at the Comic-Con, the Scream panel.
Yep.
We got to sit on that. Matthew Lillard is a gem. I just want to throw that out there. He's a gift to the world, and we need more people like him.
They all were super nice.
They all were, yeah. Just Matthew Lillard, so Matthew Lillard. Like, he was out in the audience, and like, you know, not that it...
Well, that was interesting, because like, I've been to a lot of panels at Comic-Con, and like, he was in the audience the whole time. He never went on stage. I don't know if like the lights on him. Maybe he's a little older. Maybe he's put on a few pounds. I mean,
no, he's
still a gem for sure.
He's still Stu Mocker. No, he said, like, you know, we're here because of you guys, so we want to talk to you guys, and I think he genuinely believes that, like, as opposed to like. He never gives off the I'm a star vibe. Like, he's just, he seems so chill.
Yeah. He was very matter of fact of, they don't get work all that often. Mm-hmm. It's a very tough business to keep doing movies after movies after movies. Yeah. For a long period of time.
Yeah. Like, careers don't last that long in Hollywood, really. Honestly, it's a minority that have this long-spanning careers, I feel like.
Yeah. You'll do a movie here and then a movie there, and then maybe 5 years later somebody's like, oh, I remember liking that movie that guy was in. So, you know, it's like, bring him in. Okay, yep, they did what I want them to do. Let's cast them, you know. But that's where I think the cons, like, I mean... It's kind of like Star Trek. It's like the original Star Trek was not that many years that they made episodes.
Oh, really?
But then it gained such a cult following that, like, you had convention after convention after convention, where it was like guaranteed money to like go, you know. I mean, or I hope it's guaranteed money for them. I hope that they don't. I hope that, like, the people bringing them in pay them accordingly, such that, like, they're not taking losses to travel as much as they do.
I would have to assume people that are, like, in that, you know, like Matthew Lillard, Nev Campbell, like, they are going to have to make some money. Because they had, like, signings, photo ops, things like that. Like, I would have to think that I mean, honestly, like, if it's going to cost you money to go do it, you're probably not going to, you're going to be like, no. Yeah. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and my understanding of how Reed Pop works it is, like, they make these contracts with these celebrities, and then it's like, okay, you're on the hook for, like, 2 or 3 conventions in the next so many years, you know, we'll pay you this much, so that, like, when you're available, we can ask you to come, we'll fly you out to the con, you'll sign stuff, you get a cut. I'm sure it's worked in the contract. Like, you get a cut of, like, all the autographs, all the photo ops, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, going back to Matthew Lillard being a gem, he was like, you know, he was very upfront about the work and, like, you guys being fans help feed my family because this is my job, you know. And then, so, like, I did feel like he had a humble...
Yeah. And it didn't come off as disgenuine. Like, like I said, it feels like he genuinely, like, he is grateful for the people that support him.
Yeah.
And he also said that Stu Macher is still alive in the Scream universe, so...
100%. I mean, he asked the audience, and, like, nobody applauded for the... He was officially dead.
Yeah.
I think Jamie Kennedy kept needling him about being dead, though.
Yeah.
Like, they were, like, back and forthing each other.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
It was good.
It was pretty good. Yeah, they all seemed real nice. I actually feel bad because I described Skeet Ulrich as a poor man's Johnny Depp.
I mean, but...
Like... I mean, he showed up to the panel in, like, a sweater and a beanie cap.
Yeah. It was hot as balls in that room.
It was hot as balls in that room. It's like... I think I leaned over to you and was like, I'm going to go up and ask the questions. Just be like, Skeet, aren't you fucking hot in that sweater and hat? Like, that was going to be my question, you know? But you don't want to be mean. So I sat in my chair.
But you know what? I think Skeet is a little bit less problematic than Johnny Depp.
Yeah, you think?
Even if his name is Skeet.
Right? Yeah, like... I bet he's got a sense of humor.
Did your dad like to shoot guns, or...
Probably. I'm going to guess yes.
Or blow loads?
I don't think, for as how old as he is, I don't think Skeet... Because Skeet to the window, to the walls, like... That's like early to mid 2000s.
Yeah, but
and Skeet Ulrich was like 18 in his early 20s in 99. Like,
yeah, but like
98, whenever Scream came out.
I don't think that's not the first time that's been used for that. Because I remember kids when I was in like middle school were like, "Oh yeah, Skeet, Skeet!" Like, I swear.
I think you're showing your youngness.
I'm not that young, sadly.
Well, early 2000s, you would maybe still have been in high school. So, like, I could believe, like, high school.
I was...
Around that time, people were like, Skeet, Skeet. But your middle school was, like, late 90s,
you
right?
You have to remember, though, I had grade school and high school. I had 1 through 6, 7 through 12.
You didn't even have middle school.
Well, yeah, I would equate it to, like, it was like 7th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
7th grade for you is still, like, not quite mid to late, but more latest 90s, right?
I'm telling you.
We're talking like 96, 97. Well, yeah, I mean, you did have Salt and Pepper.
Yeah.
I mean, how old is the, like...
I think you're just boomerness is showing.
I know, right? I'm just saying, like, how old is the, sucking on my titties like you wanted me, calling me, right? Like, that's mid-90s, right?
I never heard that song until I watched Letterkenny.
Oh.
I never heard that one until Letterkenny came out, and I was like, "What the hell?" And then where were we? Have we even figured out still where we were when that song started playing? We're like, "Oh shit! Listen, listen, listen!"
Listen, Linda, listen.
Linda, listen.
This is just gonna be the meme show.
Yeah.
Like,
that's my life.
We'll eventually get to the case for today or what we're going to talk about, but it's still like 20 memes away, y'all.
I have a meme for everything. That's how I communicate.
Yeah. I'm going to believe Skeet Ulrich.
It's probably got some weird, like, Icelandic meaning that we have no idea about, and we're, like, literally sitting here, like, disputing if his name is, like, his dad like to skeet or skeet shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was probably neither.
Probably.
I mean, okay, to be fair, what's the second definition? Not the shooting one. What's the jizz one?
Blowing your load.
Blowing your load? Okay, just so we're clear, like...
Blowing a load out of a gun or your love gun?
Yeah, I'm saying, like... I think I said just a minute ago that, like, his dad probably didn't enjoy that, but let's be honest, like, every guy enjoys blowing their load, okay?
Wait, they do?
But, did every guy call it skeeting back when he was born? I don't think so.
I agree to disagree. I think it's around longer than what you think it is.
I mean, that's fair, but it was like, I mean, yeah, it wasn't until Chappelle was like, oh shit, they be letting everything go on this thing, like, skeet, like, they don't even know what that means. It's like, he's like, He's like, you got past the censors because white people don't know what it is, you know? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well.
So, yeah, it was good.
We have to keep pausing to yawn because...
Daylight savings time.
Daylight saving time.
We sprang forward. You should keep that yawn in, and I'll adjust my chair, too.
After saying it, I had to do it.
Yeah. So daylight savings time, we sprang forward. It's that wonderful time of the year where everyone loses an hour of sleep. Like, even if you get to sleep in, like we did. We slept in on Sunday. No alarms.
Yeah.
It still takes its toll somehow.
I know. And it's making me cranky. There's a lot of factors in my life going on right now that are making me cranky and questioning my existence.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not giving her dick enough.
Oh, my God. Dick doesn't fix everything. It fixes a lot of things, but it doesn't fix everything.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So, but it was a good weekend despite it being daylight savings time.
I got to hang out with my old army buddy.
Yeah, and I got to catch up with some friends. We did lunches, and we did a lunch, and we went shopping and got pedicures. Yeah, and you got to see a friend that you haven't seen for quite a few years.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
We were talking about his wedding, their 18th anniversary is this year.
Oh, damn.
Like, that's how long they've been together.
Wow.
So, shout out to them, 18 years, you know. We won't hit that milestone for another, like... 15,
I'm like, you better
15.
fucking finish that sentence.
2038, you know.
You know what I had a thought of? A shower thought?
Okay, what?
Next year is my 20th high school reunion.
Yeah. You're going to take me and show me off, right?
Yeah. Of course.
I've already met about half the people.
I know. You've already met about half the graduating class because I graduated with like 20 people.
Well, yeah, but you also said that like there were the sister schools or the other county schools,
yeah.
And so like aren't they all gonna have a reunion too? Like, do you all like
no, we don't
get together and do like a together thing?
No.
Do they purposely make sure they're on like separate weekends?
I have no idea. I know that we just cared about our school, so
yeah. Why aren't you on the party planning committee?
I did help with the one our 10-year.
Okay.
I actually thought about it. I was like, I wonder if I should get like a Facebook group going to start thinking about getting it organized.
Yeah, it always takes one, right? It always takes somebody to like organize it.
Yeah.
These things do not come together on their own.
No. No.
Yeah, I missed my 20th.
Yeah, your grandma had just passed away.
Yeah. Couldn't make dual trips out.
No, because it was like also the year before we got married. It was like the summer before we got married.
Summer before we got married. Yep. So.
Well, yeah. So, before we get into today's case, I have a question for you.
Okay, another one.
Yeah. Did I already ask you one?
No, but I'm just. You asked me a joke.
I didn't ask you a joke. I told you a joke.
Well, it was a joke where you go, what is...
Oh my God, that's a different thing. This is a question. That was me telling you a joke. It was part of the joke!
I mean, like... Yeah, I think the only person who, like, told jokes without, like, asking questions is, like...
I think you're really
Mitch Hedberg.
I think you're really focusing far too much on a joke. It was a joke. A joke's a joke's a joke.
Joke's a joke, a joke.
Yeah.
Yucca, yucca, yuck. Okay. What question do you have for me today?
So, when you were a kid...
I was.
God, you're annoying me.
I mean, that wasn't a question. I was just affirming, yes, I was a kid when I was a kid. Go on.
You affirmed that you were a kid. There was nothing about when you were a kid.
I was a kid. Confirmed.
What was it like when you were a little shit with a paper route?
Is that really your question?
Yes! You had a paper route when you were a kid.
I had a paper route.
Correct?
Correct.
What was that like? Like, you had to get up early on the weekends, right?
Saturday, we had a Saturday edition. That was the only morning edition. The weekdays were in the evenings.
Did you go out by yourself to deliver papers?
Yes.
And how old were you?
7th grade.
Oh, okay, so you were like, what, 13? 12, 13?
7th grade, yeah, 12, 13, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I feel like as a kid, right, lots of people, especially when we were, like, in our tween years, paper routes were, like, a big deal back in the day, right?
Okay.
Like, everybody, when we were growing up in the 80s and 90s, everybody had, like, if you wanted a job when you were, before you turned 16 and were legal, well, I don't know what the legal working age was in South Dakota, but...
Probably like 12 or
Probably.
14.
Get your ass in the factory! Go
it was probably one of the few jobs you could get, like, under 14.
Right. Exactly. So lots of younger kids had paper routes, and they were basically roaming neighborhoods unsupervised, right?
But yeah, the idea was you delivered in your neighborhood as close to your neighborhood as possible.
So kids back in the 70s and 80s had more freedom than they would today, right? Like,
probably.
Like, I wouldn't let, if we had kids, I wouldn't let them do anything by themselves. Like, I wouldn't let them go deliver papers in a neighborhood. There's just too many fucking weirdos.
Yeah, but I mean, you can teach them about weirdos, but I mean, yeah, you're right. It still provides an opportunity for being snatched and whatnot. But
right.
It's like...
Well, so in the 70s and 80s, like, Stranger Danger, that was like a big campaign.
Okay.
That they put out, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you remember that when we were kids?
Yes.
Like, they had the...
Don't talk to strangers.
Yeah. If somebody comes to pick you up and says they're your mom told them to come get you, you should have, like, a code word. Was that ever a thing that you guys...
No, that was after.
Okay.
That was after me. Ours was like, ask to call your parents or something like that. You know, don't get in the car with them.
Yeah.
It was usually like, go back into the school, ask to call your parents and confirm that they sent somebody, you know.
Which, I mean, like, how many parents send somebody to get their kids that their kid has never met? Apparently it was a thing, though, because they told people to, like, verify, because it did happen, apparently.
Well, I mean, yeah, probably because people were, if a little kid's trusting enough and, you know, you're like, depends on how you attack it. If you're like, oh, your mom couldn't make it, like, I'm here to get you, like, she really wants you to come home, you know what I mean? And, like, it gives a sense of, if you could give a kid a sense of urgency that, like, they need to come home and they need to come home with you, yeah. Like, how much are they really going to question it, you know?
True.
It's like...
And I feel like back in the 70s and 80s and 90s even, there was very much more, like, trust in strangers, you know, like... Not trust in strangers.
I know I made a face. I'm sorry.
There wasn't as much distrust of other people that you didn't know, right? Like, I feel nowadays people have a very healthy distrust, which you should have because...
You don't know those people.
You just don't know them, and you don't know their intentions. And if somebody's doing something like that, it makes it feel like they have bad intentions, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, right? Like, it's... You're referring to, or what a lot of people refer to as like, oh, them good old days, the golden days, like the 50s with your Leave It to Beaver, your Andy Griffith Show style neighborhoods. Like, you know the people who live around you. Yeah. Your kid can walk home from school. Nobody's going to, like, snatch them. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, it's like you were... nice to people, not wary of people. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. You know? And that's why the 60s and 70s became so ripe for, like, serial killers, because there was still that sense of trust, right?
Oh, yeah. Right? Like, I'm pretty sure that's definitely a thing. I mean, I don't know. So some of the, like, weird world events in, like, the 60s and 70s were, like, I don't know, like, so... Like, I honestly don't know how quite... I haven't thought about it much. Like, I haven't tried to, like, put them in some kind of perspective to, like, the things we've had to deal with. Mm-hmm. You know? Like... True. Like, was there a 9/11? You know? Like, was there... I don't know, I'm trying to think of other major... I feel like school shootings and stuff kind of took off in the 90s.
And they've just grown and grown and grown.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so, like, kids getting snatched, I mean, we talked on an earlier episode about, right, like, the Jacob Wetterling, we talked about, like, a few famous cases of, like the stories that a lot of people knew.
Yeah.
Because they were like, yeah, a kid's gone.
Yeah. Well, we're actually talking about one of those big cases today.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I did want to mention, okay, so you know how I brought up stranger danger? That was like a big campaign.
Yeah.
I just saw this article that said that this actually created some issues because it downplayed. It's not always strangers that are dangerous, right? Like we've had that conversation. I think it was at like Thanksgiving when I was like, we were like, nobody should be talking about politics, so we ended up talking about like serial killers and stuff. And
yeah, serial killers and cults.
Serial killers and cults. Yeah. So unfortunately,
it's someone you know.
It's someone you know. I mean, that's not always the case.
Not always.
But
it's just as likely, isn't it?
It's just
if not more than likely. I was just going
to say if not more than likely because opportunity's there, right?
Yeah.
So they were talking about how, while it is good that kids know you shouldn't get into a car with strangers, you shouldn't, do whatever, but it also gave a false sense of like, as long as you know the person, then they're safe, but that's not always the case.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm bringing this all up because today's case, like I said, we're talking about one of the bigger unsolved, like, disappearances of a kid.
Yeah.
And this is still unsolved 41 years later. Ooh. And it's the disappearance of Johnny Gosch back in 1982.
Johnny Gosch?
Johnny Gosch.
Is that his real name?
Mm-hmm. It's Gosch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Gosh.
I was like, gosh darn.
Yeah. So, like, no. So this...
It just sounds made up. I'm sorry. We're starting off on a bad note. I'm sorry, everyone. But it's like...
So, this happened back in 1982. At the time, Johnny was 12 years old and living in West Des Moines, Iowa. But before...
Ooh, West Des Moines.
Mm-hmm. So, before we talk about Johnny... Or before we talk about his disappearance, let's talk about Johnny himself. He was born on November 12th, 1969 to John and Noreen, and he had an older brother and sister. Now, what I was able to find was that his older brother and sister were actually from a previous marriage that his mom had. And then when his mom married John, they had Johnny and completed their family, basically.
John and Johnny?
Yeah. Like
They don't want to do John Jr.?
I mean, maybe it was, but everything I saw was Johnny.
Johnny. Yeah.
So...
I've seen that before. I've seen John and Johnny's, but
yeah.
And they don't call them juniors. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, who knows?
Made a difference somehow.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I think actually John, that was his middle name. The dad was his middle name. It was like Leonard John, but he went by John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, as a kid, Johnny took karate, which, were you even a preteen in the 80s if you didn't take karate lessons? I feel like they were so popular because of the Karate Kid, right?
I don't think Karate Kid was out at this point.
When did it come out, I wonder? I guess the 82, yeah, it probably wasn't out yet. Yeah.
I want to say it was like 84, 85.
That's fair.
Maybe even later.
Maybe that's why like everybody was taking karate lessons, and so they're like, you know what we should do? Make a movie about karate lessons.
I mean, in the 70s, you did have Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. So.
Yeah, Kung Fu.
Kung Fu and stuff was...
It was a thing.
Definitely a thing in the 70s, for sure.
Yeah. I had a really hard time finding any more specifics on Johnny. Like, again, when you get into cases like this, all they focus on is the circumstances of their disappearances. Like, it's hard. You get little pieces here and there about the person. But again, he was also only 12 when he disappeared, so,
Yeah, so what else do you got for Johnny? Any other details?
He also played football, and he seemed to be well liked at school. He was a 7th grader at the time of his disappearance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if he's doing karate and he's playing football...
Pretty active.
Active, should be... I mean, he's not going to be, like, all that physically strong as a 7th grader, but, I mean, you're probably not a wimp. You're probably not an easy mark. You're probably not the easiest mark.
Yeah. I think he was like 5'7" at the time of his disappearance, too. So he wasn't... I mean, he was a pretty tall kid. For being a 12-year-old.
For being a 12-year-old.
I mean, that's like a little bit shorter than I am.
Okay.
But anyways, so he was also pretty responsible. Johnny was also a model paperboy for the Des Moines Register, where he'd been working for about a year. He had received a Perfect Service Award during this time as a paperboy, and the morning of September 5th, 1982 was no different. So just before 6 a.m., Johnny, accompanied by the family's dog, Gretchen, which was a wiener dog.
Okay. Just had to make note of that, huh?
I mean, if the roles were reversed, the first thing I asked you is what kind of dog was it, right? So he set out to deliver his papers. Several sources say that normally Johnny's father would join him on his routes, and he was supposed to wake his dad up to go with him. But on this morning, he did not. Which,
okay.
I'm going to say, like, you know, if his dad woke up and saw that Johnny wasn't there, maybe this had happened before. Like, you know, it wasn't, like, all the time, but,
yeah,
you know, sometimes he would go out on his own. And as a 12-year-old, you know, you're probably like, I'm responsible. I don't need my dad to go with me. I can do it, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean it's almost the age for pushing those boundaries. Right?
I was just gonna say, I literally have it in my notes. Like, you know, at 12 years old, you're starting to like push the limits, see what you can get away with.
Oh yeah.
But regardless, we do know that on this particular morning, he did go. Johnny took off on his own, and he stopped to pick up his papers and started his route. Since he'd been doing this for around a year, it was business as usual. Now, like I said earlier, Johnny was always on time when it came to his paper route. He had received that award for time, like, you know, he'd always
Perfect
been
service.
on time. Perfect service, yeah. So it was unusual that a couple hours after Johnny left home, his family started receiving calls from the people on his route, his customers, I guess. Complaining that they hadn't received their papers yet.
Okay.
So because he was always so prompt, Johnny's father told his wife to call the police, and he set out to look for his son.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. Like, if your kid's super responsible, always on time, never does that, and then all of a sudden people are calling, like, after he has already left the house, you know, 2 hours prior,
yeah,
it's a cause for concern.
Yeah, I got, if people complained on my paper route, you would get a notice the next day with your bundle of papers.
Oh.
And, like, you would get fined for complaints.
Oh. Like it would get taken out of your paycheck or something?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. Like, they'd be like, hey, somebody complained they didn't get their paper, and I think I don't know if they delivered a paper. If, like, somebody complains they didn't get a paper, then somebody from the paper, the newspaper office would drive one out there, and then you would get charged like double. You would get charged like a paper might cost like 35 cents, and you would get charged like 70.
Ugh.
As like a fine. So the incentive there was to like not miss.
And you know, it's like old people that are like, my paper was 7 minutes late. It should have been here when my coffee was ready.
Oh, the worst was I had one where there was a kid. Like, there was a kid in the house, and like I deliver the paper, I push it through the mail slot, and then like the kid like literally like opens the door and like throws the paper outside.
What a little asshole.
Yeah. And it's
kids
like
are the worst.
It's not like you have a cell phone to like record this or anything, right? It's like you're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I've delivered that paper, you know, and they're like, doesn't look like it, you know. It's like,
what a little shithead.
It's like, what the fuck, you know? It's like, yeah.
I'm gonna beat your ass.
Pretty much, but as soon as you take 2 steps towards them, they run inside and lock the door.
Scatter like.
Or you get a complaint for, you put the paper like in the door like you're supposed to, but if there's like a million ads or something, and then when they open the door, it like all comes apart. You know?
Yeah.
You know? And so then you get a complaint that like, well, their paper like spilled because you didn't put it in their door like how they like or whatever, and it's like, you know.
Customer service sucks.
Yeah, or it got wet, like, you know, it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John went out, so Johnny's father went out.
Yeah, good on him for.
Yeah.
good on the people for calling.
Yes.
I mean, whether they were concerned about Johnny or whether they were just like, where's my paper? You know?
Yeah. What he found was concerning, to say the least. He saw the wagon that Johnny used on his route, along with the undelivered papers, like the bundles of undelivered papers, just a few blocks from their house.
Okay.
So eventually, Gretchen the dog showed back up at home, but still no sign of Johnny. And I looked at a few different articles for this one, and according to the Des Moines Register, which is where Johnny worked at the time as a paper delivery kid, there was a law in place in Iowa during this time that required 72 hours to pass before someone could be considered missing, including children. Mm. Which...
I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, that used to be a thing, like, very much a thing. But as we know now, like, the first 48 hours are the most critical when investigating something like this.
Yeah, they changed that number real quick. Mm-hmm. Real fucking quick.
Yeah.
It used to be like, I think you would report it, and then it was like, it might have even been like 72 hours from when you reported it.
Yeah.
Not even like 72 hours from like the last time anybody saw that person.
Yeah. Which is so terrible. Yeah. I mean, I think that's why there are so many still unsolved cases because, any crucial evidence that could have been found was gone by the time police actually started investigating.
Well, I think part of it is like you said, stranger danger, like people weren't snatching kids. You're more likely causes like a runaway.
Well,
like why? Okay, you're reporting your kids missing. Like they probably just went on like a little joyride and and they'll be back. Don't worry about it.
Which is still fucked because if your kid is, if your kid ran away, they still need to be home. Like they can't they're still your child. Like you're still responsible for them.
Right.
For them to be like, oh, they'll come back. Like that just it's mind-boggling to me how that was ever even a thing. Like, your 10-year-old ran away. They'll be back. It's fine. It's like, they're fucking 10.
Right.
But.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, you and I just do not have that mindset.
No.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Now, as a parent, I have to believe waiting out the clock. And we're not parents, but I can't even imagine as, if I try to picture, my friends' kids. If my friends went through that, I don't even know how you would remain sane. I feel like that you would it would be, the longest 72 hours of your entire life. Just waiting, right?
Yeah.
But it does sound like search parties actually formed by both police and the community to look for Johnny in that time. So, officially, I don't think a case was opened yet, but... They did start looking for him. They did start
looking, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And unfortunately, their searches yielded nothing. Johnny was nowhere to be found. And from the sounds of it, because you brought up runaway, from the sounds of it, police went back and forth on what happened. First, they thought that he had been taken, but they didn't find any evidence, so then they assumed he was a runaway. But now it's the general consensus that he didn't leave on his own. That somebody did, he was kidnapped.
Did he pack a backpack? Did he take his most treasured possessions?
Nope. No hobo sack on his stick for him. No riding the rails.
Had he delivered some of the papers, but not all of them?
Yeah.
Who the fuck's leaving in the middle of their paper route?
Who's
going to deliver some papers and then be like, you know what? This is a good place for me to pop off, you know?
Or, if you're running away, why would you go pick up papers in the first place? Fuck that. If I'm running away... This is my chance to get away. I'm leaving. I'm not going to leave. Like you said, halfway through is just... It's so weird.
I do have a...
Unless you wanted to make it look like you were taken.
Well, what I'm saying... No, the point I was going to make is...
Okay.
If you said he picked up his papers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then started delivering? He had to go get his papers.
Yes.
Mine were delivered to me... I didn't have to go and pick them up.
Oh, they had a pickup spot.
So if they had a pickup spot, there's somebody there.
Yeah.
If he doesn't report to pick up his papers, that person is probably calling the house, his dad's house.
Fair.
Earlier than the people not getting their paper.
That's fair.
Because usually you're given a 2 to 3 hour window to deliver papers.
Mm-hmm.
like, or ours was like, you were supposed to deliver them by a certain time. Mine were dumped off like on our driveway like 2.5 hours before.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, so I will make that point that
that's fair.
if you wanted to run away, you at the very least would pick up papers.
Yeah.
You wouldn't deliver them; you would just pick them up.
And I'm not 100% sure if any got delivered or not.
Okay.
I think some did.
Okay.
But, so several of the other paperboys confirmed that they had seen Johnny at the pickup, and this was most likely the last confirmed sighting of him.
Okay.
There were also a few witnesses who told police that they had seen Johnny speaking to someone in a car, described as a light blue, two-toned Ford Fairmont or similar vehicle.
Okay.
It appeared that the person in the car was asking Johnny for directions, but this could be speculation since they've never confirmed. The same car also reportedly turned around and was seen asking another paperboy for directions. So, what happened after that is still unknown.
Yeah.
What is known is that Johnny went missing that Sunday morning, and there have been no confirmed sightings of him since. The Gosch family continued their search for their missing son for years, and they continue their efforts into this day, some 41 years later. At the time, the family criticized the police efforts when it came to finding Johnny. They claimed that they were slow to respond and they didn't do enough, which we have said before, as a parent, nothing is ever going to feel like enough is being done when it comes to your missing child.
Oh, yeah, but I think the second they suggest that he ran away, you're like, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
You know,
and parents know their kids better than anybody else. If there wasn't, it doesn't sound like there was anything in the home life to indicate that he would have wanted to run away. There wasn't anything like you said, nothing was missing from the house from the sounds of it. Nothing was taken. Like he didn't, pack up and hit the bricks, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, the 80s were a really different time when it came to things like this. Like our understandings of child abductions now are very different than they were back then.
Yeah.
I watched a news report that stated that the Des Moines police created a composite sketch of the man that the witnesses saw in the car.
Okay.
And the news report said that the police never released the sketch and that the Gosch family hired a private investigator to look into their son's disappearance, who then created and released a sketch of the man.
Okay.
I did see a clipping of the sketch, but I couldn't confirm who had released that sketch. It was in a newspaper article, but it didn't say, per the private investigator, per the police department.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure where that sketch came from, but eventually one sketch did come out. And while there have been names and leads investigated in the case over the years, there's been no solid evidence to link anybody to this case.
Yeah.
They have nothing from the sounds of it.
This is Des Moines, Iowa.
This is Des Moines, Iowa. I think I should get...
You said that earlier, but we do have a Des Moines here, and I was
Yes.
like, we are Creepy Cascadies, so...
No, Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah.
I do think I should get some credit because I have not said Des Moines once.
Des Moines.
Des Moines.
Des Moines.
Now, there was two similar disappearances that possibly could have been tied to Johnny's. Another young paperboy in Des Moines went missing. Des Moines, Iowa.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
He went missing in August of 1984. Eugene Martin was on his paper route in the south side of Des Moines, Iowa when he disappeared, which was eerily similar to Johnny's case. And then Eugene was only 13 at the time of his disappearance.
Okay.
And in March of 1986, Marcus James Warren Allen, who was also 13, disappeared on a walk to his friend's house in Des Moines. His mom said he left the house to go visit a friend and never made it to the friend's house. And they've never had... Nothing has come of it. They have not found any suspects, nothing. Several have speculated that the cases are linked, given the boys' ages and circumstances surrounding their disappearances. They were all in Des Moines. They were around the same age. They were alone at the time of their abductions, which I wholeheartedly believe that all three of these kids were abducted. I don't think any of them left, news report that I watched, a few different people had said that they really do believe that there was like a serial kidnapper, which kidnapping boys that have never been found. Let's just call it what it is. There was a serial killer targeting young kids.
Yeah.
Young boys at this time.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been any like concrete evidence to suggest that these guys. There's nothing that actually like ties them together. There's no evidence that really does say like, yes, these cases are linked.
Yeah. Yeah, and as a solo, when we were talking about Josh's case, sorry, I was moving my hand.
No.
When we were talking about Josh's case as like a solo case, I was thinking, well, Des Moines is like at the intersection of two interstates, one north-south, one east-west, like...
Josh, you mean Johnny? That's okay. I'm like, are we talking about a different case? Like, which one are we talking about? Sorry.
In my head, I was like, it's Josh Gosch. Like... You can leave that in. Johnny Gosch. Okay,
sorry. It's okay.
But that's where my head was at. Josh Gosch.
Yeah. I mean,
Johnny Gosch.
Yes.
Right? So Des Moines is at the intersection of two interstates, east, west, north, south.
Okay.
You are... If it's a solo case, it could be purely like somebody coming through, early morning.
Just a
random, could have been an hour out of town. There's a lot of farmland around Des Moines. Mm-hmm. I've been to Des Moines a few times. It's like, you have the interstates circling the city. You have the bypass interstates. There's plenty of place in between, and it's a decently large city for the area.
Okay.
And then there's also, rural, 15 minutes later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can be in no fucksville. One, I would just chalk it up to, just wrong place, wrong time. Somebody cruising through, some serial killer. Mm-hmm. But, to have 3 in a few years,
With very similar,
Now, it still could be somebody out of town.
Oh, for sure.
For how infrequently, for only every 2 years-ish, that's a little,
Yeah.
The timing of it is a little sus, such that, I can believe they're not connected, but it's and what was it, just the 3?
Yeah.
Is the
other people have gone missing from there, but similar cases, yes, those 3.
Yeah, 3 strikingly similar cases.
Yeah.
2 years apart.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just around 2 years apart. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly 2 years apart. Just fucking with you.
So, police have never spoken out and said that yes, these cases are connected, but obviously people are making those connections because unfortunately Eugene and Mark's cases have never been solved either. There's no trace of either one of those. So all 3 of these kids disappeared without a trace, essentially.
Well, yeah, this is where I'm putting more faith in the internet sleuths than I do the police departments that investigated, right? Yeah, based on the time available, passion for the case, you know what I mean? That's where, private investigator, internet sleuth type, maybe somebody could crack the case, but at that point, all your evidence is cold. Yeah. Without finding remains somewhere. Mm-hmm. Throwing it back to our Lindsay Baum case, our very first case that we talked about,
Yeah.
It's that would be the exact same case, except they found bones randomly, right?
Right. So, put a pin in that, because I have a point to make about that later.
Okay.
That we'll get into. But remind me about that, okay?
Okay. About the connection of the Lindsay Baum or the bones found elsewhere?
About,
internet sleuths?
Going cold and not being able to find anything and yada, yada, yada. Johnny's parents actually lobbied to change how missing children cases were handled, and in 1984, 2 years after Johnny went missing, the Johnny Gosch bill became law in Iowa. Now, this bill basically required immediate police involvement in a missing child case, which...
That's a good thing.
Shouldn't need a law to tell you to do that, but okay.
Right.
Other states have also adopted this or similar laws in the years following. So who knows how many kids have actually been saved because as a result of this legislation.
Yeah. That's a good legacy for little Josh Gosh. Johnny Gosh. I know. I'm just messing with you.
So, sadly, John and Noreen would divorce in the years following Johnny's disappearance. I think it's really tough for a lot of relationships to handle that kind of trauma.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's just so much shared trauma that you just can't continue. You know what I mean?
John Sr. probably looked at his other half kids and was like, why couldn't it have been you?
Stepkids.
Yeah, stepkids. Been like, why couldn't it have been you and not my child?
I don't think that's a thing.
I'm just saying.
Hope not.
I mean, if he went shitbag.
Yeah. I saw interviews with both Noreen and John on that news report that I watched.
Okay.
John, we'll get into it a bit. Over the years, Noreen has been one of the biggest advocates for her son's case. There has also been some controversy regarding some claims that she has made regarding Johnny.
Okay.
One being, she claimed that in March of 1997, Johnny himself showed up at her door along with an unidentified man. She said that he showed her a birthmark that convinced her that this really was her son. And according to Noreen, Johnny told her that he had been kidnapped and became part of a child prostitution ring. She is quoted as saying he was part of what we would now call trafficking. It seems that Noreen believes this happened to her son. He was a victim of trafficking, and then he aged out, but he was too afraid to come forward. There is a dispute as to who this really was that visited her that day, if it happened at all.
Yeah, where's the DNA?
Well, they don't have any. She just said he stayed for about an hour and a half and then left. Because he was afraid. Because he also had somebody with him. In that interview that I watched, police had said that she had made previous claims similar to this and then recanted them.
Okay.
And if it was somebody that showed up at her door, there's really nothing to say that it wasn't just some fucking douchebag.
Oh, yeah, right.
Just
That'd be
doing like playing a cruel hoax at this point, right?
Yeah, without a DNA test, that's where I'd lean.
Yeah. So then in 2006, Noreen received a set of photos at her door that showed several different boys being bound and gagged. Noreen is convinced that one of those boys in the photos was Johnny. However, police have said it was not. So there's a lot of contention between Noreen and the police investigation.
Yeah.
I
sounds like a lot of people fucking with Noreen, or Noreen's got a screw loose. Could be a little bit of both.
I think that you're accurate on that. So this is a common theme in the case. Noreen is at odds with the police department in their investigation. While she holds out hope that he is still out there and is still alive, his father had said in that interview that hope is pretty much gone. At this point, he would just like some closure before he dies. And
yeah, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I mean, if Noreen's pulling stuff like that, and you've accepted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have a point of contention in your relationship.
Yeah. It sounds like she's, in my opinion, just from the research that I did and the cases that I watched, I think she very much does not want to believe that her son is gone, and so I think she's trying to convince herself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, while as the father has more like, after so much time, the odds of him still being alive are very, very slim to none, right?
Yeah. And she claimed, mother's intuition, I know he's still alive.
No, not that I saw. And that's our pretty condensed version of the disappearance of Johnny Gosch. I will link this in our show notes, but like we said, this is still an unsolved case, so if you have any tips, please call the West Des Moines Police Department at 515-222-3345, or you can contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST.
Ooh.
This case is it's truly terrible and sad. Yeah. Or this case is truly terrible, but sadly it's not unique. According to the Global Missing Kids website, each year around 460,000 kids go missing in the U.S. each year.
That's a lot.
A lot.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of that is I think more.
Do they count
parental
mom
abductions.
abducting or dad abducting like divorced parents.
Yes, parental abductions are included in that. So I think more often than not it is a parental abduction, but still, that's a lot of kids.
Well, yeah, and I guess I feel like there's a statistic between like parental abduction found with the parent like a week later, and like a case like this where that kid hasn't been seen again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but you in the stats need to discern you need to differentiate between those two.
I'm sure there are statistics out there. I just did a quick search on missing children. Yeah. I didn't go super in depth, only because it also is historical data, right? Like this was 1982.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's also like stats like that people are like hearing that like a kid trafficking ring is running out of a pizza parlor and like call the police or storm it themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like it's stuff like that. You hear an astronomical number.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, like there's so X many million people in the U.S. Like there's how many of those are kids? What percentage of that? Okay, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the kids that probably go missing is, I'm gonna hope like missing and never found is like a much smaller subset.
Yeah. Of
that number.
So I do want to also point out that one of the reasons that this case is more well known than other missing children cases is Johnny was actually one of the first few kids that was featured on a milk carton as a missing kid. Do you remember when they started that campaign?
I mean, I remember hearing it's like missing kids on milk cartons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was a thing when I was a kid.
I think he was like the second or third one. They actually started, I believe, I can't remember exactly when the first one was, but I know it was the Ethan Patz, who disappeared from New York, I want to say, in 1979. He was the first kid, but I think Johnny Gosch was the second or third to appear on a milk carton.
Okay. It's always kind of funny because it's like, sorry, not that funny, but like ironic that like you put this grainy ass picture on a milk carton. Mm-hmm. The expectation is like a million kids or multi-million. If that kid's still out there, it's like him and his friends are going to be sitting around drinking the milk going, wait, this kind of looks like you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, the idea of ads on milk cartons, you know? Mm-hmm. So with this, when you talked about this being like an unsolved case and like 41 years ago, I was like, oh God, like are they still keeping up like this sketch? Like, how would they look now?
That is still a thing. I see it on the paper in the ads like that we get in the paper. Or like how they mail us like the ads, the thing of ads on Wednesdays? Yeah. It's on the back of one of those. Like so-and-so was kidnapped. Like in this case, it would be Johnny Gosch was kidnapped in 1982 at 12 years old. And then it gives like height, weight, hair color. And then it said, this is what he would look like today. And it's like the age progression. Yeah, so maybe I'm trying to make light of that, you know, because it's like, who knows if that's what that person really looks like nowadays. Mm-hmm. But it's also like, how many other fucking ads do I see throughout, like, any given day? That you just ignore. That I ignore, that don't fucking matter, that actually, like, make me angry about stuff versus, like... Yeah. Again, like, if you think the milk carton thing works, then, like, maybe some more revenue, or maybe, like... Maybe they should put a law that, like, ads have to, like, be semi-productive some portion of the time. Mm-hmm. And do stuff like that. And run, like, missing kid ads, you know what I mean? Like, be like, hey, if in any given day I'm going to see, like, 100 ads, 5 of them need to be, like, missing kid pictures or something, you know? Yeah. Like... I think a lot of, like... I think the milk carton thing is like we have to try to get these pictures out. What's a broad audience that we can get these pictures and information out to, right? Yeah. Everybody drinks milk. Not anymore, but back in the day it was like everybody got your milk, you know, everybody... Well, I assume kids at school still drink out of milk cartons. I mean, yeah. And same thing with ads. Like, I think there are groups that pay to put these in because, like, Center for
like
National Exploited Children, like, they probably pay to put these ads in different type of publications because they want to try to reach a broad audience.
Yeah.
Right? But I do agree that it kind of gets lost in everything because how many people look at their ads?
Yeah.
Like, I do, just because.
I throw those things away. Like, I literally go through and be like, are the fast food ads in here? Are there any new places that, like, we would save $1? Okay, pitch them. You know?
Yeah.
Like.
So, I mean, honestly, it's just a terrible case. And it's more terrible because it's like there has been nothing. Like, this family has got no information. They've had to really, it sounds like, fight for all of the investigations, things like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just really hard as, again, I'm not a parent, but I can't imagine being a parent and losing your child and not knowing, like, is my kid out there alive somewhere? Do I have, grandkids? Do I have great grandkids? Did they die an hour after they went missing? Like, the unknowing is just, I can't even imagine. You know me, I hate not knowing anything. Like, I always look for spoilers because I have no patience. So, like, this would be, like, my ultimate, like...
It would drive you nuts like it did.
No, I was trying to think of the word, what's the word where you're, like, stuck in between heaven and hell?
Limbo?
No.
Purgatory?
That's it. Purgatory. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's... and I think that highlights the way that each of the parents in this case, like...
The route that they went.
The route that they went, right? Like, the mom is definitely still in turmoil, still in pain, still wanting to know anything,
She hasn't passed through all the stages of grief yet. She's still very much in, like, the...
Yeah.
Active grief.
Yeah. And it's like, and I mean, some people might blame the dad for giving up, but I mean, like, at some point, I'm sorry, there is, I feel like there's acceptance, and for your own mental health, it's almost better to, like, accept it, not try to dwell on it, and, like, move on. As a religious person, I mean, this is where you're like, okay, I really hope that, like, someday I can learn, in the afterlife, I hope to learn what happened to my child. And, oh, by the way, I hope that whoever did this to my child is, like, burning in hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, maybe that gives them some small bit of comfort, And, I think there are those people who go that route too, right?
Yeah. Well,
I had
after that super depressing.
Yeah.
With that, as always, thank you guys for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and download to our show, as well as leaving us a 5-star rating and a review if you like what you hear, which hopefully you do. Do that on whatever platform you're listening on. All of these help us become more visible to more people, and that helps us grow our little show. Also, please help us out by sharing us with your friends and family, social media, all the things. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, check out our website, which is creepycascadiapod.com. Or if you've had your own encounter with true crime, paranormal, you just want to talk to us, you can send us an email to admin@creepycascadiapod.com.
No emails yet?
No emails yet. We've gotten one, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
We're kind of waiting to compile.
We're trying to get some more stories. So talk to us, you guys. We wanna share your stories. So with that, we're gonna say goodbye. We'll be back next week with a new episode.
Yeah, say final thoughts. Hug your loved ones.
Yeah.
Keep
your head on a swivel. I've said it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Don't
protect yourselves. Teach your kids how to run or try to protect themselves.
If your kids are out on their own, in that kind of like in between stage, like, are they ready to? Are they not? Give them some fucking pepper spray. Let them pepper spray some ass.
Teach them not to talk to strangers or stay a distance away, or
You don't have to be polite to somebody that's making you uncomfortable. If somebody is coming up to you and talking to you and you're uncomfortable, fuck politeness.
Yeah.
Be rude. Get out of there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our warning for today.
Yep.
All right, well, we hope everybody has a good week, and we will be back next week with a brand new episode about something creepy, and yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.